everybody! Today I'm going to do the my first time tag, which I know is a really popular tag here on YouTube, and I always enjoy watching other YouTubers' versions of it because sometimes you get to find out some little secrets and some little things that you never thought you knew about your favourite YouTubers. Seeing as though I kind of shared nearly everything with you guys on my blog, I thought I would bring the my first time tag into YouTube channel form to bring it alive, and maybe you will find out some more things about me. So I have the questions here on my phone and we shall get started with them, or as my friend Zoe says on her channel Mama Full Zoe, let's get cracking with the video. So the first question is, do you still talk to your first love? And the straight point blank answer to that is no. We're not friends anymore. Moving on swiftly. What was your first job? My first job I got when I was 14 years old, and it was in a cafeteria in my local town, and it was actually my grandma and granddad who got me the job. They'd been going in that cafe for years and years and years. And after Christmas, when I turned 14, they said, it's time for you to get a job. And I absolutely loved that job. Like, I used to moan about it. Every Saturday I'd moan like, oh, I've got to go to work, I've got to go to work. But I loved it. Not only did I love working with my friends, we had such a laugh. Like, it was so funny. I met some really good friends there, but also I always had like money in my pocket, so I'd get paid on a Saturday and take my wage straight down to Primark and spend it all. So every week I had some money to spend on nice new clothes. First car. When I first passed my driving test when I was 17, I didn't actually get my own car because I would be moving to uni that following year. So instead of messing about with that, I kind of just shared with my mum, and it was the Fiat Punto. And it's so strange because I didn't actually pass my test in that car, but that's the only car that I can ever drive properly. Which sounds kind of crazy because I had a few bumps along the way, but you know when you just get in and you're like, I know how to drive this car. It was kind of like that. So first car, kind of technically-ish, was a Fiat Punto. The first person to text you today. So the first person who texted me today was my grandma, which she actually messaged me last night, but I only got it when I woke up this morning because I'd been travelling home and I was so tired, and she asked me if I still wanted to go around for Sunday dinner with her and my granddad, and I said yes. The first person that you thought of today. The first person I thought of today, rather strangely, it wasn't actually a person that I thought of first today, it was more of an animal. When I come home I kind of go and poach the cat from next door but one, because obviously sadly I lost my little Buttons last year, so I go and poach someone else's cat to hang out with when I come home. So the first person slash cat that I thought of today was next door but one's cat, Chappie. Now that's kind of mad, isn't it? My first grade teacher was, I don't know whether we class that as reception or year one. In reception I had a few teachers because they couldn't find one that really wanted to teach us. No, I'm kidding. We just didn't have a stable teacher in my foundation year. But it was a lady who I remember called Mrs. Beach, and yeah, I think I liked her. But my year one teacher was my favourite teacher of all time. She was called Mrs. Harding, and I loved her to pieces. Literally, she was the nicest lady ever. Next question is your first aeroplane ride. So my first aeroplane ride was when I was 3, I think, and it was actually to go to America for my parents' honeymoon. Yep, they took me on their honeymoon with them, and I remember sitting like at the window where you can see the runway and stuff, and I was watching all the planes, and I don't think I was particularly scared of like going on a plane, but it was certainly a new experience because I'd never been on one before and I was only 3. First best friend was a girl at infant school who was called Evie, and on my first day of school I was sat on green table, and she came over and she had like a brown furry coat on, and their hood had eyes and a mouth on the back and like a bear's face, and she came over and sat next to me and was like, hi, I'm Evie, and I was like, hi, I'm Holly, and we were friends all the way through school, even in secondary school for a bit, but we weren't best friends then. But she, I would say, was my first what you call a best friend at school. And yes, we occasionally do still talk, which is nice. First sleepover. Now, I was a bit of a strange child when I was younger, and I still kind of am now. I hate sleepovers. I know that sounds really strange, but there's just something about them that I've never got along with well. When I was younger, we would all go to other people's houses on sleepovers like you do for people's birthdays and whatnot, and I always used to really want to make an excuse that I wasn't feeling well so I could go home. But I just don't know, I just never got along with sleepovers. But I think my first sleepover was at somebody who I was friends with called Zoe, and it was her birthday and she had a few of the girls from school around for like, I think we went bowling and then we had a sleepover. And I seem to remember something really strange about this. She used to have like blank jotter pads, and when we used to go to her house it would be like Hollie's notebook or Evie's notebook. Like we used to have our own notebook at her house where she would make us do like sums and stuff in it. Like maybe that's why I didn't like a sleepover, because it was slightly strange, but nevertheless I didn't really like sleepovers. And funny story for you, last week my friend Helen and I had a sleepover and I had to kick her out to her own room after a few hours because she was snoring. So even now, at 20 years old, I'm still not good with sleepovers. And that was a rambly story. The next question is the first person that I spoke to today, and rather sadly, that's nobody. There's no one in for me to talk to, so I'm talking to you guys. You're the first people I've spoken to today. That is really kind of sad. The first wedding I went to, I think, was my mum's best friend's wedding. Pretty sure that's the first wedding I went to when I was about 2 or something. But I really want to answer this question, and the first wedding I went to and knew what was going on was actually my mum and dad's wedding when I was like 3. And I was a bridesmaid, and I just seem to remember a lot of that day, even though it's a long time ago now. And I just remember my mum looked absolutely gorgeous, and I can remember I stood outside the church and like the music was playing for us all to walk down the aisle, and I remember looking around and being like, this is really strange. And yeah, that wasn't the first wedding that I went to, but it's the first wedding that I remember. The next question is the first thing you did this morning, and the first thing I did this morning was get out of bed and go and look for that cat. Now as you probably know if you read my blog, I'm kind of cat crazy, which is a little bit odd, I know, but I had nothing better to do, so I went downstairs, and usually he's sat at the window and I'm like, woohoo, come on in. But he wasn't there, and so I went and made a cup of tea, and that was the first thing I kind of did this morning. First concert. My first concert should have been to go and see Busted when I was about 9, I think, but I was ill so I couldn't go. So my first concert ended up going to see the Scissor Sisters with my mum and dad. To this day I don't know why we went to go and see the Scissor Sisters, and that was my first concert. I went with them, and actually it was really, really good, but kind of like the Scissor Sisters, like there's some like inappropriate graphics going on in the background for like a kid. But I guess I liked their songs, I think, at the time. That was my first concert. My first piercing must have been my ears. I remember my mum saying to me, Hollie, you're going to have to wait until you're about 10, or was it 12, to have my ears pierced, because she just didn't like the fact that she would be the one who had to like put the earrings in and take them out, because you know, they had locks on when they were pierced, and I think it kind of freaked her out, and she wanted me to be able to like look after them myself. But she did let me have them done earlier, and then they went all kind of manky, didn't get on with them at all. And then I had them done again when I was about 11, I think. Because when I was younger, having your ears pierced caused such a hoo-ha at school. Like, if you were doing PE lessons, they'd be so annoyed that you'd had your ears pierced. You've got to wear a plaster on your ears and all that business, and I think my mum was couldn't be bothered with the hassle. So I think I was 11 or 10 when I had them done for the second time, and then I kept them in. And then I had the one up and one in that ear and my belly button done when I was 16. So yeah, I think my ears were the first piercing I had. This one made me laugh. The first detention. Now, for some reason in my mind I seem to think that I never had a detention, but I'm pretty sure that I did. I think I was in year 7, and you know, you think you're hardcore in year 7, and I'm pretty sure what happened was we was all stood in the corridor waiting to go into a science lesson. I think it was biology, and for some strange reason somebody started making like whoop whoop noises. I don't know why, and so everyone joined in, and I did it the loudest. And we had this teacher called Miss Roberts who had a really like screechy voice. She was like, stop that noise! Like, she was really quite squeaky, and she told me off and gave me a detention, and I remember it was with my form tutor, and she was like, I just didn't expect this from you, making that silly noise, and it was just kind of weird. But I'm sure that was my first detention. And then I had another one when I was in year 9 for coming to school wearing Converse. I thought it'd be appropriate because they were black, but no, you can't wear Converse to school, and I got a detention. So much for me thinking I never had a detention. Now I think about it, I guess I did. First roommate. I've always kind of like shared flats and stuff with other people, but I've never shared a room. I've always had like my own room. So I've never really had a roommate, but I guess the first person who I lived with that I spoke to was a girl called Marie, and she was in the room opposite mine when we first started uni in our first year, and she was doing, I think she was doing broadcast media or something, and so with me doing journalism we got along quite well. I've never really had a roommate as such, but I've had a housemate. Well, I've had a few housemates. First lesson you took. Cannot remember that at all. I'm pretty sure the first lesson that I ever took would have been English or spelling. Actually, I think back in the day when I was at school it was called phonics, and we had a big yellow A4 book, and we had to do like spelling, so like TH words and CH words. And I remember like I remember getting told off because I ripped all the pages out of my book because my handwriting wasn't neat enough to my standard of handwriting, and so I kind of like ripped all the pages out, and the teacher was like, why have you ripped the pages out, Holly? And I had no answer. And in a long-winded way, I don't know what my first lesson was, but I'm going to go with spelling. And finally, first YouTuber. The first YouTuber I watched, I think, was Fleur de Force. I'm pretty sure it was either Fleur or my friend Sarah S. Walker Makeup, one of those two. What happened was I logged onto YouTube to listen to, I think the song was Cher Lloyd's version of Turn My Swag On. I wanted to watch the video from her audition from the X Factor, and Turn My Swag On was the song she sung, and on the front page of YouTube there was a video of something like how to deport Urban Decay Primer Potion. That means it was Fleur that I watched. Lollipop 26, who I was obsessed with back in the day, and yeah, so I think Fleur was the first YouTuber I watched. I wonder if anyone said that about me. I wonder if I was the first YouTuber somebody watched. That'd be quite cool to know. If I was the first YouTuber you watched, leave a comment below and tell me. So I really hope you enjoyed my first tag. If you fancy giving this tag a go, I tag you all to do it. It's pretty fun. You get to find out some things about different people, and if you have already filmed this video, leave it as a video response, and I shall see you all later. Bye everyone!